and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Temitokwe Fagbemi. Mali is mourning people after Islamist gunmen stormed the Radisson Blu Hotel in the capital Bamako last Friday. A 10-day state of emergency has been announced, and President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta also declared 3 days of mourning.
The deadly attack on a hotel in Mali's capital on Friday, November the 20th, claimed by two radical Islamist groups, has put veteran militant leader Mokhtar Belmokhtar back in the spotlight. Belmokhtar, who is Algerian, has been a key figure for years in insurgencies across North Africa and the Saharan border region. But in June, authorities in Libya said he'd been killed by a U.S. airstrike. But his group, Al-Murabitun, have claimed responsibility, along with Al-Qaeda, for the deadly attack on the Radisson Blu Hotel in Bamako that killed at least 19 people. The attack happened 1 week after 130 people were killed by Islamic State militants in Paris. Speaking at a regional summit in Kuala Lumpur on Saturday, U.S. President Barack Obama said the Mali attacks have strengthened the resolve of the U.S. and its allies to fight militants.
Like the heinous attacks we saw in Paris, and attacks we see all too often elsewhere, this is another awful reminder that the scourge of terrorism threatens so many of our nations. And once again, this barbarity only stiffens our resolve to meet this challenge.
The U.S. State Department has said a female aid worker from the U.S. was amongst those killed. It all started shortly after 7 a.m. local time on Friday, when the gunmen stormed into the lobby of the hotel. The assailants went through the 7th-floor building, room by room, and floor by floor, taking hostages as they went. Some were freed by the attackers after showing the cult recite verses from the Quran. Others were brought out by security forces or managed to escape under their own steam. The UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon also condemned the attack. Analysts believe the attacks are a slap in the face for France, which has stationed 3,500 troops in northern Mali to try to restore stability after a 2012 Tuareg rebellion, which was later hijacked by Al-Qaeda-linked jihadists.
Meanwhile, France is still trying to recover from the deadly attacks in Paris on November the 13th that killed 129 people. At least 8 people are believed to have been directly involved in carrying out the attacks. Of these, 7 are now dead, but the 8th suspect is still on the run.
2 armed terror suspects were killed and 7 people arrested during a police raid in the North Paris suburbs of Saint-Denis last Wednesday morning. The anti-terrorist raid targeted Abdelhamid Abaoud, a Belgian jihadist of Moroccan origin, believed to be the mastermind behind attacks that killed at least 129 people in Paris on the night of November the 13th. It was later confirmed that he was among the terrorists killed during the raid. 5 police officers were also slightly injured when a woman who is believed to be a relative of Abaoud got killed in the process. Meanwhile, French Prime Minister Manuel Valls said in Parliament on Thursday, November the 19th, that the country could face the risk of chemical or bacterial warfare in its fight against Islamist militants. What is news is the operating methods, the nature of the strikes. The way they kill is constantly evolving. The grim imagination of those giving the order has no limits. Assault rifles, beheadings, human bombs, knives, or anything at once, perpetrated by individuals or, in this case, by commandos, very well organized. We can't exclude anything today, and I say this with all necessary caution, but we keep in mind that there could be the risk of chemical and biological weapons. Valls was speaking during a debate in France's upper house to extend the state of emergency in France, hurriedly imposed in the aftermath of the attacks on bars, a concert hall, and a stadium. Both houses of parliament later granted the request. In the meantime, the European Union's Interior and Justice Ministers showed their support to France on Friday by agreeing to tighten border controls. The draft conclusions of the EU ministers' meeting on Friday focused on an agreement to implement immediately the necessary systematic and coordinated checks at external borders, including on individuals enjoying the right of free movement. Citizens of the 26 Schengen countries have their documents visually checked by security forces when they leave or enter the area. The new proposal is likely to upgrade the controls so documents are systematically checked against criminal and security databases. Some of the Belgian and French suspects involved in the Paris attacks had traveled to fight in Syria and returned, apparently undetected, to Europe. Officials have said some may have taken advantage of the large influx of refugees from Syria over the summer to evade normal border control.
Still talking terrorism, Belgium raised the alert status for its capital, Brussels, to the highest level on Saturday, November the 21st, shutting down its subway and warning the public to avoid crowds because of a serious and imminent threat of an attack. This comes a week after the Paris attacks carried out by Islamic State militants, of whom one suspect from Brussels is at large and said by authorities to be highly dangerous. The city was placed on the top level 4 in the government's threat scale after a meeting of top ministers, police and security services. Suspected militant, 26-year-old Salah Abdeslam, is thought to have returned home to Brussels from Paris after the attacks when his elder brother Ibrahim killed himself in a suicide bombing at a cafe. When we return on Diplomatic Channel, my guest on the program, Dr. Segun Bolariwa, a research fellow at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, analyzes the significance of the attacks in Paris. Please stay with us.